I don't do it for any other reason. I don't do it to try and see how far I can push my body. Like that definitely happens to me, but it's not why I do it. I do it because I absolutely love the sport.
Welcome to Chasing Rabbits, the space where we sit down with women who refuse to play small, who rewrite the rules, and who show us what's possible when we listen to that inner voice that says, there's more. I am your host, Alicia. I am a runner, a yoga teacher, a mountain lover, a coach, a retreat host, and a general jack of all trades. But here, my goal is to get you inspired by other women and to make you realize and see the power you have to inspire other people around you. Today, I am super excited to introduce you to an Irish trail runner who stood on podiums around the world. She's been named Trail Runner of the Year 2025. She's cracked top 10 finishes in iconic races like Trans Majorca and the UTMB series, and only recently won Trans Majorca. I'm anglicizing the name, finishing top 4 overall. And what's more powerful is that she stepped out of her teaching job and decided that she is going to now lead trips, expeditions around the world, bringing people out into the wilderness and go completely into the unknown in comparison with the teaching job. Everybody, welcome to Nicola Soraghan. Nicola, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much. That was a great little intro. Very nice to hear those things about myself, which sometimes I forget.
Yeah, sometimes it's good when somebody else reads our bio and then kind of tells us, you actually are a badass.
Thank you.
Tell me, before we go into more depth, I want to ask you, have you always been a rebel?
I think I've gone through different rebellious periods for sure. I think my mom would say I probably was pretty rebellious at about 17. Pretty much placed myself into boarding school to avoid avoid clashes in the household. But yeah, I think it's always been in me. I remember when I was really young, like 3, 4, 5, 6, mom said I just had this energy, and what she learned she had to do was to channel it, to channel this energy. Yeah, like I was in ballet, and the the ballet teacher when I was 5 said, I just don't think this is for her. And so I was rechanneled in another direction. Gymnastics was more my thing, but yeah, I didn't always follow the same line that my older sister, who was way more, just more of a ballet type than me. So, and more typical of that kind of streamline way, I was not. So yeah, I think that kind of did follow me all the way through and has really benefited me in being able to recognize when I didn't like something, or I was doing something that was just, everyone was doing, and it was almost like an expectation. And then you think, why am I doing this actually? So even like small things, like I became, which I'm not anymore, but I was a vegetarian for a while because I realized I didn't like the taste of chicken. And I thought, and again, I was about 16 and I was like, why am I eating this? I don't like it. But it had been put on my plate from an early age, and so I ate it. So yeah, so again, another period where I just kind of spoke up to what I was then feeling I didn't want anymore. And yeah, I think I've done that numerous times then in different situations, and it's definitely helped me kind of chase more adventurous dreams and interests and break the mold a bit.
Yeah. So now tell me about, so you've worked as a teacher for
Yes.
a good few years, and
Mm,
then you've decided to completely flip it
mm,
and give up a job that, when you say about the expectations and all of that, kind of a teacher's job gives you a nice steady income, it gives you the pension, it gives you the clarity of your income, and it gives you this nice cushion of, knowing what to expect. And then you completely flip it and decide, actually, I'm going to give all of this up and I'm going to go for an adventure
Mm.
and lead expeditions somewhere in remote places. And also at the same time, which I didn't know, I read a little bit online and I realized that you turned down the representing Ireland to actually go and plan these expeditions. So tell me about that. Tell me, how was it to completely change your life that way?
Yeah, so I was a teacher for 14 years. 11 of those were in London, and I loved it. I mean, I love children, always have, and I loved working with them. But often the way with teaching is you take on more and more responsibility, and excuse me, so that ends up meaning that you don't end up doing the part that you love so much, which is being in the classroom. And so there was a lot more of the paperwork, admin, being in charge of a team. And I probably took on too many roles. So it just was, I mean, it was so much work. I was pretty much drowning and only teaching 10 hours a week. And that was the thing that was kind of keeping me alive, was to be in the classroom with the children. But yeah, the rest of it was just kind of killing me. I was so exhausted from 12-hour days in school that I didn't have the energy to go running, and I had a coach at the time, and it was just so hard to kind of stick with that program when I just didn't have any energy. And actually, it turned out I was like severely anemic as well. And, I thought it was just because my job was so hectic that I was exhausted. But no, there was like multiple layers to it. So yeah, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Now, as a teacher, you get lots of holidays. So I would often, look at where my holidays fell and look at trail running races abroad, because I love the heat. I love Europe. I love those European trails. And, I had so many friends who also did similar as well. London's funny. I mean, lots of people want to get out of London when they're in London. So, like, I had great trail running friends, so we'd often plot these races and go abroad. So, I pretty much decided I'm going to pack in the teaching. I had this like real like deep need to be in mountains, like really big mountains. And like many years before, I'd gone to Nepal with a friend for about 2 weeks. And I just thought, you know what? That's where I want to go. And I thought I'll take a whole year, because teaching, it's 9 months, then you got summer. So I'll take the year, and I'm just going to follow the sun and plot different races around the world. And yeah, essentially I had the best year of my life. I did exactly that. I went to all these spectacular mountain ranges. I mean, I tried to do it as cheaply as possible, so I was a bit sensible where I started and finished in Europe, which is the most expensive. But it was incredible. I mean, from like that race that you mentioned in Thailand, up in Chiang Mai, where I managed to then qualify for CCC, which was incredible. So the opportunities were immense, and obviously my training was great, because that's all I did for a year, and loads of hiking as well. It wasn't just running. But that led me to go to Patagonia with this group, and essentially we were going to run across part of Patagonia over 10 days. And I thought, "Oh, that sounds like that sounds like exactly what I want to do." And so yeah, a year after that, I'm now working with that company. So that's one thing just led to another, and it was all these just right place, right time, things clicking together, personalities connecting. And it all came out from me deciding I was exhausted from the mainstream kind of job. I wanted to explore what else I could do. And I thought maybe I'll get really sick of being outdoors, and maybe after a year I'll be ready to go back to the classroom. But I mean, where I think I'm 2.5 years on now, and I'm like, no, no, I still love the outdoors.
Yeah, and it is, you kind of, when you think about it, you have to trust that things will fall into place, and that if you don't take that leap of faith,
Mhm.
e- even if you have to go back, or have to, even if you go back to whatever life you led previously, it's still okay.
Exactly right.
You just go for it in the moment you feel that need. Oh my God, I need
Mhm.
to do something. It's
And I think you're right. I think when you were saying, luckily teaching is such it's a way of life, and it's one of those roles that you can always jump back into. So that is a safety net for me, and having that is a real security that if I want to teach, I can teach, and you can teach most places in the world. So, that is like a fabulous career that I can go back into kind of whenever I want. So, yeah, that's definitely a safety net.
yeah. And you say that it's now 2.5 years. And
Mm.
so, was there a moment in those 2.5 years where you sat down and you doubted your decision, where you were like, oh my God, what am I doing?
No, never, never. Never. No, absolutely not. Not a single moment. I mean, I pinch myself I consider myself to be incredibly lucky to be leading the life I live. I have 3 siblings, and they've all got lots of children. And they're like, God, your life, And, it's very different. It's a very different path I've taken, but lots of things connect that allow me to live this life. So, there's other things that I don't have. I don't have a partner, I don't have this or that. But for me right now, I'm extremely happy. And yeah, I no, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I sometimes think that, everything kind of happens for a reason so that you can get to the point in life where you are. Like, I always think, like, if I had kids, I would have never been in the situation I'm in right now. Obviously, life would have been different, and
Yeah.
probably happy as well. There's nothing wrong in having kids and families. It's fantastic. It's a life
Mhm.
that we won't know much about, maybe, or who knows. But but for the moment, it's like it's the best that can be.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. I just couldn't I would not have been able to have the last 2.5 years, or just be able to take up those opportunities in the same way without a single question. I can hop on a plane and go wherever and work wherever, and yeah, it's great. It's great for me for now, So,
Hmm.
yeah, love it.
Yeah, we just go with the flow.
Mhm.
It's
This
the
is the
best.
path. This is the current
Yeah,
path.
yeah. So tell me, we're going to switch gear for a moment to your racing career, because I think it's absolutely incredible looking at your UTMB and ITRA scores and the races that you've done and placings and everything. It's absolutely incredible. And even IMRA races since you've been back. Whatever your race you rock up to, you're friggin' on the podium. Like, it's absolutely amazing. And I suppose when you say that, it was kind of hard to balance that teacher training kind of life. Now, you probably, do you find that it's easier now, because do you actually get more time for yourself to train? Or would you say that with the organization part and everything of the business, do you kind of find yourself being like, oh, fuck, I don't have time to train?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely periodized training, and not in the best form of periodization. I mean, I don't have a coach anymore. I haven't had a coach since I left London, just because day to day, who knows what it's going to bring. But in a really, most of the time it's great. I mean, I can plan my training most of the year around, it's very flexible. So I can get out at any stage of the day, or like, as in, it's not consistent. It's not, oh, I go before work and I go after work. Like my day, I could go running at various different times of the day. But as you say, then between May and September, things get a bit tricky and a bit more challenging because of the expeditions. So I'm typically away for 2 weeks at a time. But I've got 2 Iceland trips back to back this year. So I'll be away for 5 weeks. And that does become challenging, because really I can probably only fit in 10K a day, pushing it if I can do a bit more than that. But that's the way it is. And I'm on my feet all day. I'm also surrounded by, amazing people who are running across the whole country. It's very inspiring. It's a lot of good energy to be around. And all those things, I think, make a difference. Sorry. Need to stop that, if you could hear that. So it's, yeah, as I say, it has its challenges, but would I change it? No. So it just means that this side of the year, so probably from January to now, is quite front loaded with races and training. And when I go to Tajikistan next month, I mean, that's altitude, so that's good. Whether I'm doing a little or a lot, it won't be a lot, but will all kind of pay off a bit. But yeah, I mean, it'll be tricky going into UTMB this year, because the training right before it, or in the kind of fundamental time 2 months before it, is not going to be great. But again, I can't pass up either opportunity, so I'm making it work.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also, I think, because your job requires you being on your feet all the time, kind of all day long, I always think that that's such a big part of your training and getting ready for races. Like we would spend a lot of time hiking, because
Mhm.
some of our groups are hiking as well, so it's a lot of, okay, let's go and walk and walk. And I remember, I think it was 2 years ago or last year, we had like back-to-back groups of hikers, so I had no time to run. Like I was lucky if I could go out and run at 7K up and down
Exactly.
here from the house. That was it. But
Mm.
then after them, we had a group of runners, and we went to Verdun to a race, and I won it.
Mm.
And it was basically just because I'm so used to being on my feet
Yeah,
all the time, that and
exactly.
kind of keep that low impact kind of
Mhm.
activity all the time. So I think it works. And so
Yeah,
you're going to UTMB,
I
and
I
that's
am. I often say it like, "Go to UTMB," because I almost don't want to say it too loudly, because it's so wild and it's such a crazy distance, and I'm like, "Oh, man, like, why am I doing it?" But I think the issue is that I did CCC 2 years ago, and I just had, like, a whale of a time. If you could put a race together that everything went well. You had crew there, which I'd never had before, and they were my friends, and they were fantastic and experienced, um and like finished with so much energy, and I loved it. Like I loved it. So I'm like, I can't go back and spoil that. I can't redo that race, because I never want to spoil that memory. Um so it's like, what do you do then? Well, classic, you go up the distance and do the crazy one. So
and has that always been your dream? For many people, UTMB is the race that is like on top of their kind of the dream ladder. Is that the same with you?
um, I don't know. I don't think it's always been the dream. Um, I mean, I suppose, UTMB, it's a bit of a tricky subject at the moment. I think there's there's a lot that's really positive about it. Certainly, um, I think it held a lot more prestige, and also just like that sense of community was a lot bigger a few years ago. And I do think that has shifted. And um, there's certainly some things that aren't so great about it anymore. Um, but the atmosphere, you still can't beat the atmosphere in Chamonix during UTMB. It is a mecca, and it's one of those things. It's like, how many of us are going to get the opportunity to actually run UTMB? Um, it's going to get more and more difficult, I think, to be successful in the ballot or with enough of these, like, what are they, stones? So I kind of said, look, I'll throw in the stones, because I didn't get in last year, which worked out fine in the end, but I had 12 stones last year and didn't get in. That was unusual.
Mm.
And then this year, that became actually more typical, that people with 12 stones weren't getting in. So I said, oh, I'll throw them in the hat and see what happens. So I think I had 16 in the end. So yeah, there was many stones to
Mm.
throw in. But yeah, so look, it's an opportunity that, again, I take on. When it comes to me, I'm like, right, see if it works out. If it does, let's go for it. And so yes, I am committed to doing it, all going well.
And do you have a crew this year as well? Are your friends coming to crew you?
So there's a number of us that are going to be out there that week. Another friend of mine is doing CCC. So I'm trying to figure out, because I know the few of the friends are crewing her, so I'm trying to figure out if I dare to ask some of the others. But yeah, I think I'll manage to get one or two people, hopefully.
And how do you approach a race like that? So, you've done quite a few UTMB series races and, races around the world. Do you, like, because you've had, like you said, such an amazing experience with CCC, will, like, mentally, when you're standing on the start line, is it completely a blank page and just, this is the race, let's run this race? Or is it like the head is spinning
Yeah,
and
no, I
going,
think.
oh, I had such a good experience the last time, I have to have a good experience this time?
Well, I mean, I think it's a mixed bag. I say for everything, the more prepared you are, the better experience you're going to have. So that is physically,
Mm.
mentally. Can you do the practical things really well before race day, so that there are things that you don't have to think about once you start? So I will excuse me, I will often have an idea of the profile of the race. So I'll know exactly when my aid stations are. Um, and I usually write a little piece of paper that I stick in the back of my phone. And so I can see it through the clear screen in the back of my phone. And that again, it takes away the mental, oh God, when's the next aid station? How long have I got between them? And so I just see those. I can have a look at the back of my phone and see that list of aid stations. And sometimes, not always, I'll write how much elevation there is in that. And I got have the GPX on my phone as well, or on my watch. So, and then also, if I can get out and actually practice some of those climbs, like I was fortunate to that last year. So I knew the last 30K of CCC really well. And one of the brutes of a climb is in that last kind of 30K. So I timed it. I knew, like, on a good day it was going to take 45 minutes, so it was likely to take an hour. And so mentally I say to myself, right, look at the watch, it's say 10 to 1. You're not going to get to the top of this till 10 to 2. So chill out, hiking poles out, off you go. Whereas on that same stretch, I remember two guys like constantly looking at their watch, probably trying to see how far they were along their elevation profile and getting no closer to the top. And, I've been there, and that can feel really stressful. Whereas I was just, mentally, I try and turn things around and positively like reframe things, because I think the mental game is huge, like really
Yeah.
huge. I'm always saying, 5K, but like, how am I only this far through? Whereas now I say to myself, 5K is 5K. Nothing has changed. The distance is the same. So, stop going, this feels like the longest 5K ever. It is 5K. Like that's, and it can make such a difference. So yeah, I do try to really kind of prepare with the basics, knowing the profile, knowing roughly how many climbs, and depending how many climbs there are, you're like, okay, how many big climbs? And might be, 12 big climbs over the race, and you can count them down, and then block into, the last race I had in Majorca, I just broke it into 10K blocks, so I was never thinking more than 10K. And then even towards the end of a race, I'm always thinking to myself, sometimes you're like, oh, I want this to be over. And again, I reframe that as in, but you were looking forward to being out in the mountains all day. Why are you now trying to rush this? So, and that again has a really positive impact mentally of saying, yeah, you're right. Like, calm down, enjoy yourself. That's why I go. That's why I do these things. I don't do it for any other reason. I don't do it to try and see how far I can push my body. Like that definitely happens to me, but it's not why I do it. I do it because I absolutely love the sport. I love being outdoors. I think races are an amazing way of, they usually plot out like the best route in an area. So I think that's what we pay for. We pay for getting to experience the most incredible like parts of an area, and they give us aid stations along the way, so we don't have to do it ourselves. And so, yeah, sorry, that's a very long-winded way of saying I plan as much as I can so that the race is then as enjoyable as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, like you said, the mental game, it is crucial for a success in any race. And by success, I mean just crossing the finish line. It's like I remember there were 2 or 3 races where I ran and Sean ran with me just to stay with me. And it was in Templier, where like this is the biggest trail running festival in France. Like there
Mm.
was 25,000. Like it was massive, and I was doing the 17K. I got a number because CMAL managed to get me a bib, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna run the 17K. But the first I think the first 10K of the race is all uphill. Like it's
Mm.
literally quad busting uphill.
Mm.
And I remember running up and Sean met me halfway and he was like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Just don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me." And I kept going uphill. And I started whinging. I was like, "I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't." And he was like, "Will you please fucking stop? It's the same race for everybody. Can you see anybody else whinging like you do? Everybody's hurting. Everybody is thirsty. Just go and enjoy the race." And you don't understand how much pain I'm in. And then I just kind of, it clocked with me. I was like, I'm here because I like being here. I like the pain of going uphill. Why the hell am I whinging? Just shut up and enjoy
Mhm.
the bloody race.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's it. It's that kind of thing. It's like everyone's experiencing this. Everyone's having to go up this hill. Everyone's finding it hard and hot. If it's a hot day, most people, whether they're from there or not from there, they're going to feel that heat. So it's kind of saying, look, we're all in this together. What can you do to get the most out of yourself?
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Was there ever a race, or has there been a moment in any of the races where you that you had to dig deep and
Mm.
actually, you felt that pain cave that everybody's describing? Was there? Can you
Yeah,
do
I
you want to
mean,
tell?
there's there's certainly been There's been I so I can dig deep, I know that, and sometimes I have to keep in check how deep I am going. But one that stands out to me was, I did Marathon du Mont Blanc, the 90K, probably two and a bit years ago now, and it was going so well, and I was probably maybe 60K in, 65K in, and I had done most of the climbing to the point that a friend of mine messaged me on the course being like, unreal, it's all fun, it's all downhill from here. And it literally went downhill. Everything went downhill from there. I went from like feeling really good. Now it was very hot. The route is very similar to CCC, but kind of the other way around. But I hit this top of this climb anyway, and was nearly at the top. We're about to descend, and it would have been a really long descent. And I got like really, really bad stomach cramps. And I mean, it could have been a combination of things. I was due my period, but it was also really hot. And still thinking about which things I can control, I'm like, did I take on too much Coca-Cola? Like, this is what I've thought afterwards. Was I not taking on enough water and just like plain salts? So still to this day, I'm not certain what it was, but it was crushing. Like, I mean, I went from, I think at the time I was in 11th female, kind of coming up to 10th, which would have been insanely good for that race. And I, like, when I say I plummeted off a cliff, I plummeted off a cliff. But I stayed in the race. I knew I could. It was just I couldn't run downhill, like that pain, right. And then I've had an issue after two races with my kidneys, so it's again something I have to be careful of. And so I was like, oh, is this pain? Is it cramps or is it my kidneys screaming? So again, I just had to be really mindful not to push things overboard. So I slowed down. I was able to hike the uphills quite well, but the downhills were just a disaster. And I remember messaging my mom because I could imagine everyone at home like looking on their phones and just seeing me snail pacing, and I thought, I'll just tell her like I'm okay. I've got these cramps, but I'll finish. I'll just be pretty slow. So that's what I did. And I certainly went through points like where I was crying on the course, just been like, this is so hard. And there's people passing me. And then I remember this girl passed, and then she had her friends with her. And I was like, why she got her friends with her? Is she even allowed to? Which of course she was allowed to, which I didn't realize you can have pacers and friends for the last 20 or 30K. And so they were like, come on, you're okay. And I was like, I'm really not okay, but it was just trying to settle, like go through those motions of being really emotional and then being like, but you're okay. And then okay, I can keep going. So yeah, it was a long finish from that point. But the most amazing finish as well, because I came through the streets of Chamonix and it was pretty much dinner time, I don't know, 7, 8 p.m. And I ended up, which I was pretty much on my own running through the streets. So next thing, it was incredible. People were like standing up from their dinners, cheering me in, like just me. And it was honestly, it was the most emotional thing in the world because I was like, I've done this, like I've finished something that was really hard. And it just like that felt incredible. It felt like I was proud of myself for pushing through that one for sure.
Yeah. It shows, like, I think, like, obviously, we would love to have run all the races, like, with, the best shape and everything going well. But I think it's the experiences like that where you actually struggle,
Mm,
they make you appreciate
yeah.
what you do even more because you now know you've been through, you've overcome something hard and you
Hmm.
fucking did it anyway, you know.
Yeah, and you have to do that. And that can be in little things. Like that can be also, cross country race. Like I did a 4K cross country race and have never found anything so hard in my life. Like I had a panic attack in the middle of it. And I was like, I can't stop because, I'm part of a team, and I was like, this is 4K, Nick, like, come on. But there I was like gasping for air and trying to run and not just totally walk. But again, so it's like, and it's resettling that breath because like I can get panic attacks, and it's trying to tell myself you're okay, just breathe, and just calm the nervous system. But yeah, so it doesn't matter what the distance is, it doesn't matter where you are, like things can kind of suddenly come on, and it's just how you tackle them. And as you said rightly, it's like looking back on experiences where you've got through that. And I think that goes for nutrition as well. I mean, how often have we felt like, oh my God, I cannot take on another bit of food or another gel or whatever it is, but you have to, because you physically won't be able to finish your race without it. And so it's knowing that you can like almost force yourself to take on that piece of nutrition, and suddenly, like, it might take 10 minutes, it might take 20 minutes, but suddenly you're feeling well again. And it's knowing that you have these waves and these like peaks and flows of feeling good, not feeling great, but that you can come out of that. And that's a cycle that can happen many times in a single race, but it's trusting that you can come good again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that you've done enough. I think you also have to give yourself a little bit of a pep talk about, listen, you've done enough training and you've done it many times before and you're okay. You might
Mhm.
be a bit low at the moment, but you're gonna get out of it. On the other side, you'll be fine. You're all good, no matter
Yeah.
how shit you feel at the moment.
Absolutely. And I always say to myself, look, it might take you longer than you'd expected, but you can finish this. There's nothing, you haven't broken an ankle or you haven't, so there's nothing like that that's impeding you. You just don't feel great. So slow it down, which usually helps the whole system, digestive system, nervous system, everything to calm. Um, and then often suddenly you're feeling an awful lot better because let's be honest, a lot of it's in here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's how, I don't know, would you, so you mentioned a broken ankle, and I know a few crazy athletes out there who broke ankles during races and continued running. And do you think, like, I know adrenaline is another thing, and it kind of gives us the energy to keep going and to also mask that pain. But what do you think would be for you a moment where you'd drop out from the race, when you'd say, no, that I can't keep going?
Um, I think number one for me always is I want to be doing this when I'm old, and I'm not saying I need to be running 100 miles when I'm old or 100K or whatever it is, but I want to be active. I want to be able to go out into the hills and spend a day in the hills if I want. So anything that's going to harm that like long-term prospect, I think I am pretty good at kind of going, hold on, let's put this in perspective. So I do think now, if I broke something or if I did something to myself in a race, I would have to do that whole body check of, hold on, how bad is this? Is this just like if you slow down a bit that you're going to be okay? So again, like if it's like my kidneys like maybe acting up a bit, um I can see if I can control that. But if it's going to be something that I think, is actually going to have a bigger impact and that I'm actually going to be damaging myself more by continuing to run or continuing this race, for me, that's it's one single race. And yeah, I think you just have to kind of weigh things up and see like how much of it is going to kind of affect your long term or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Weigh it out. Yeah, very true. Um, So you said you lived in England for 15 years and then coming back to Ireland, how did you, when you came back to Ireland, so you're with Kilcool Athletics Club
Mhm.
in Wicklow, and coming back home, how quickly did you kind of feel back at home, or have you ever lost that feeling of home? Probably not, because you probably were visiting Ireland, but coming back for good and joining a running club, did you instantly feel like home?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I'd been in London for 11 years, and then I'd been elsewhere before that, out in Sharjah, which is another emirate in the UAE next to Dubai. So I'd been away for 15 years. And coming home again, it felt it was the right time for many reasons. I was still figuring out what I was going to do with my life, age 40. I was like, do I go back to teaching? No, I think I still want to live out this adventurous life. So I knew I wanted to do the Mountain Leader course, the qualification. I knew I could do that in Ireland or I could do it abroad. So it was choosing, well, which way do I want to do it? And my younger sister was pregnant and due in September, which was right about the time I was finished my gap year. So I thought, you know, she's been around for, she's my only younger sister, and we're all older than her. And I feel like she's lived all of our lives and all of our special occasions. And actually, we all moved away from home. So I feel she got, for her big occasions, sometimes not everyone was there. And I thought, you know what, she really deserves us to be back around, or certainly me. And we're so close, and it was incredibly special. So it felt really right for that reason as well, to come home and be around for her, and spend time again with family. I've 6 nieces and nephews here, so I love them all. It's great fun being an
Mm.
aunt. And so, yeah, it was just lots of things just felt right. And as you say, very fortunately, because I wasn't a runner when I left Ireland, so I didn't even run in my local woods. It was just not a thing for me then. So it was, I happened to know one of the girls, Aoife, who I ran Wicklow Way relay with her, and then stayed in touch with her for those 2 years that I was then away. And so when I came home, or anytime I come home, I'd drop her a message and say, "Do you want to go out on a run?" And so when I moved home full time, she said to me, "Any chance you want to join Kilcool?" And I had no idea how these running clubs work. I thought, oh, if you're not living in Kilcool, are you allowed to join Kilcool? So anyway, I was welcomed there, and yeah, that just made it such a smooth transition, because suddenly I had my family, I had a trail running group, um, and it was, they are just a fabulous group. Like, to me, I've always loved running communities rather than clubs. I'm not a massive fan of clubs. I find them quite competitive, and I love the kind of more friendly side of things. So I, yeah, joined Kilcool, and what an amazing bunch. I mean, I adore them all. We get out for trail runs. They do track, which I've dabbled with a bit, but not a super big fan of. Um, I've done, some of the cross country, again, dabbled, panic attacked over. So, all these different things, but really good fun. And yeah, it's just been so social as well with them. So, we do the saunas and the cold dips and all that. So that's made it really, really, really like special coming home to.
Yeah. And would you say, is there much of the difference between the UK kind of running communities and Ireland? Because I know, like, Ireland is, as a foreign person, like, Irish people are incredible. Like, I just think it's the hospitality, and like I lived in Bor in County Offaly for like 16 or 17 years, and I always felt part of the community. Or, I was accepted, which is incredible. And so I wonder, did you did you find the same in the UK, or what's the difference between them, or
Yeah.
similarities?
Yeah, I suppose that's why I say the community rather than club, because in the UK, clubs tend to be, very competitive, very much on the kind of marathon train, speed training, track, 10K, like all of that. And um, yeah, it can be quite clicky. However, I was really fortunate in that the group I joined was more of a community. And they did a mix of road and trail. And one of the first things I ever did with them was this night run in Richmond Park, where we were like chatting and running, which I didn't know you could do. And then we finished in the pub for a pint, and I thought, this is amazing. Sorry, what is this? I didn't know this existed. So that was, really thanks to them way back in, I think it was 2015. That I ran anything more than a 10K. I think I'd done maybe two half marathons, but it wasn't a natural thing. I would have pushed myself to run 10K about every second week just to maintain fitness. For other sports, but never just for running itself. So yeah, I mean that really got me hooked. And again, like the community aspect was just fantastic. Like it was really supportive, really fun. The cheer squads were amazing for, you'd be cheering on anyone at a Sunday race or a Sunday event, and likewise they'd do the same for you. And then we get out onto like hop on a train and get out of London on a weekend and do a trail run, finish in the pub, have a pub lunch and a pint, and get the train back into London. I'm like dreamy. That's it for me.
Hmm. Hmm. And do you find it the same in the community that you are in Ireland
Yeah,
as well? It's,
big time.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Like I run because I adore it. As I said, I enter races because I adore it, and that's the way it feels in Kilcool. Everyone's doing something that they love. They're incredibly encouraging, like unbelievably so. Every week we get messages congratulating anyone who's done, couch 5K, trail races, road races, like triathlons. It's so inclusive and encouraging, and whether just across all the different disciplines. And I love that. It's like lifting each other up. So it's just such a fabulous group.
Yeah, and it's so, so important because for many people, like, I don't know, like, I was always running on my own, and it was never a problem. I loved that. But I know for so many people that community is actually a difference between them staying at home or going
Yeah,
out and doing something, being active and being with other people, which
yeah,
it's so important. We are social creatures. As much as we like solitude, we are social creatures. We need people to
yeah.
to encourage us and to tell us sometimes, come on, get your ass off the couch. Come on, we'll go to nature.
I couldn't, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think there's a real period, especially for women, where they might be mid 20s, 30s, early 40s, and they might have been really active, and then they have children and they find that they don't have time to do what they want to do anymore. And what I've seen in the last number of months is I live in Enniskerry, and it's such a gorgeous place, but a lot of people have moved here, like moved into new housing here, so they're not necessarily from here, which means they don't necessarily know people in the area, but yet they've moved to this gorgeous area. Life should be great. There's lots of nature and you know, like you're in Wicklow, it's absolutely stunning. Lots of things on your doorstep, but you don't seem to have access to them because either you're, you know, you've got your kids that you're trying to work around all day, or you just don't know what trails to go out on, or you don't, you know, you don't have a group to go with, you don't necessarily feel safe to go on your own. So I think that's something I've been doing for the since January is this kind of trail running workshop, this program, and it's been brilliant. It's just brought a group of people together, men and women, who live in Enniskerry or thereabouts. And each week we meet up, we have a different focus, like different like trail running techniques. But actually, what I think the biggest thing that people have got out of it is this little community that they now have in a place that they live, that they chose to move to and had all these this prospect of being brilliant, but they were lacking that community. So it's been so wonderful to, you know, see people and just watching them like grow with confidence on the trails, but also like chatting away and getting to know each other and hoping that this continues. And yeah, it's been so nice to see.
Yeah. And I suppose we should be thanking you for bringing women out as well and encouraging them to be to run, and that's something that I would also like to talk to you about, because you've done short trails, you've done long trails, you do both, and what I was always wondering about is, and that's also through working with Kerryway, that what we see throughout the races is there's a lot of women doing the short distances, the shorter distances, and then the longer the distance, the less women participate in them. And I wonder, is it like, I know women make decisions different way than men do. Men just jump on things. Yeah, let's do 200 kilometers. Sure, what problem can it be? Like, I can do it. And the women are more like, okay, maybe I won't be prepared enough. Maybe I won't have enough time to prepare for this. And I'm just thinking, why do you think that there is less women doing the longer distances? And what can we do? What can we do to get women out
Yeah.
there?
I think what you said is a major part of it. Men will, and this is proven, this isn't just me and you throwing this out there, but men will often take on a challenge that can potentially far exceed their ability. But women, we don't like to go into something unless we feel that we have the ability and that we're well trained for it and that we are, you know, we feel that we will be successful at that. So that is a major barrier to entry. And then, as you say, the realization is women with families simply do not get the same training opportunities as men, even if they're in the same household. It just doesn't seem to work that way. And I mean, again, in Kilcool, I do see that gender balance kind of improve. It is certainly better in that the households seem to certainly the women seem to try and get out more than I've seen with other women you know, elsewhere who are just like, oh, I don't have time, I'm at home with the kids. And it's like, well, you know, the husband seems to get out and get his training in. And so, but I think I how do we help? How do we help the situation? I think I like to say to people, you know, how do you show up as the best version of yourself? You show up by, you know, being happy, being content, getting that time away, whether it's an hour to go and do your run, whether it's 20 minutes to like run up a hill and down a hill and up a hill and down a hill, just to like get out whatever that tension is, or, you know, get out that nervous energy or that excitement, or just to feel like part of nature for 20 minutes, half an hour. And any, you know, any of that time that you get to yourself is so important. And it also like allows you to then parent better. It allows you to be a better partner. So all of these things I think are so fundamental to like just, you know, good general health and being the best version of yourself. But I just think women aren't very good at telling themselves that that's what they need, or telling their partners that that's they're going to be a better version of themselves if they can go out and do this. You know, we're very good at um you know, saying, oh no, you know, being here and staying in the household and doing all the jobs and everything is what I should do and what required of me. Um, but look, I do see, you know, really positive examples of that shifting, and I hope the more that women see each other doing that, and also the benefit it has to themselves, it and then you know, sharing that knowledge and saying, do you know what, like I'm getting out for an hour like every day or every second day, and I feel like I'm in better form. I've been better with the kids, I've been better with my partner, and just seeing that progress and seeing like how beneficial that is to everyone in their circle and themselves.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I also think, like we talked about it yesterday, that the more women we see doing these things, the more we actually, and it's mad, it's all psychological. You kind of
Mhm,
realize, oh, I actually can do it. And I also think there are two things. So one, I think showing your kids and showing other young girls, and not only girls, but like I mainly think about girls, that it is possible.
mhm,
It gives those little girls the power and the kind of the energy to say, if this woman can go out there and, I don't know, climb a mountain or run that race that is incredibly, like, for some people 50 kilometers is like, what?
mhm, mhm,
Run 50 kilometers, and they see that it's being done, and
mhm.
they believe that they can do it as well. And that's just, we hold so much power in that,
Yeah,
and
like
we don't know
visibility
that.
is everything. Like
Yeah,
visibility is
exactly.
absolutely everything.
Hmm. And you never know, um you never know who you inspire by being yourself and by doing things that you love. Somebody is looking at you, watching you, and that might inspire them to go out there and run their first kilometer, or just go for a walk.
Yeah. And I think, as you say, it's so important for children to see parents and not especially mothers, but I do I do think so, especially mothers going out and doing hard things, and we see that in the club, like Kilcool, the youth club is phenomenal, and it's you know, it's full at the moment, which is amazing. But you know, these children are seeing their parents, seeing their mums going and doing hard things, and you know, I've heard some of the mums saying, you know, I look, I didn't love that, but I think it's really important I do it so that X and Y, you know, Johnny and Sadie or whoever, you know, so that they see me doing something that I find hard, but I'm still going to do it. And you know, that it's just like instilling these, you know, positive frameworks for our children, in that, you know, you don't have to win everything. You know, you don't, it doesn't matter where you come, it doesn't matter what time you do, and which is lovely about trail running, you know. So like, people who don't know about it will say, oh, you know, how long did that take you, or what time would you do that in? And you know, I always say every trail race is different, unless you did the exact same course, you know, the same, that no, you can't compare a 50k with a 50k or a 20k with a 20k, they're so different. But but it's great for the children. Like we've got some of the Kilcool youth doing the Wednesday night trainings, like just doing trail runs in the dark, you know, with head torches up and around Bray Head, and it's so cool to see. Like I was there giving them, like the first night, giving them a little pep talk, being like, now don't worry, you know, if you get tired, just walk and just chat and, you know, have fun. And next thing, off they go, breezing ahead of the adults, you know, in the most beautiful running form. And I was like, oh, hold on a second. This is what we need to look at. You know, look at that form, just like gracefully going up that hill. And so I'm like, the main thing now is how do we keep them in that, you know? And one of the main things is like keeping it fun, keeping it, you know, so that they're going out and exploring and it's fun for them. We don't want them to drop out of it, and especially when it's such a, you know, they're so great, like, and to see, as I say, that running form so effortlessly, it's like, let's keep these guys in the sport.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And let's keep them enjoying it because we
Yeah.
know that sometimes it can get so serious
Mhm.
that I don't know, somewhere on the way you can actually lose the fun and the love
Absolutely.
of the sport that you're doing, and it's not just running, whatever sport you do.
Yep.
It can just get too rigid and too, oh, I can't get bothered. You know, I can't
Yeah.
be arsed
And you
going
feel
and training.
pressure from here and there, and suddenly it's like, you know, pushing back against that. So, yeah, that's it's like avoid how do we avoid that exactly? And keeping it fun, keeping it social. I mean, you know, the trails are so fun. And I keep saying, try to emphasize to people, I do this because I love it. You know, I don't do it. No one's, you know, no one's paying me to go out there. No one's, you know, sponsoring me to do it. I do purely because I adore it. And that for me is part of the success, and it's part of, you know, I don't know, but I think it might be part of why I seem to do well, because I just go out, I have nothing to lose anytime I go out. It's just pure enjoyment. It's always for me. It's for nobody else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear, you know, because you are a highly competitive runner. You know, you go out there and you know you do really well. So it's amazing to hear and refreshing to hear that it's still love and it's
Mm,
still only for you and not for anybody else
mhm.
because it
Yeah.
is important. Yeah, yeah. And listen, do you have is there anybody that you get inspiration from, nationally or internationally? Is there a runner that just you look at them and you're like, damn, I love you and how you deal with it all?
Oh, I mean, there's so many, and there's so many here and abroad. You know, I've been really lucky to do a number of races with Circle Loughnane, Laura O'Driscoll, and you know, it's so fun. Like when we get on the start line and it's hugs, it's chats, it's all that. The gun goes off, it's like boom. But you know, again, along the course, it's like, good woman, Laura, you know, good, well done, Circa, you know, or and vice versa. And it's like encouraging each other. And it's like, go, 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 you know. And like I'll never forget the race against Laura O'Driscoll 2 years ago up in the Mourns, or a year and a half ago, for the last 7K. My God, that nearly killed me. But the two of us, like, absolutely just pushing, and fair play to her, like, absolute, like, just grit, determination. And so, yeah, there wasn't much between us, but she won, and well deservedly won that day. But again, you know, on the finish line, big hugs, big respect. And what's awesome is that we're all going to get to go to the Euros together this summer. So yeah, so that's great. Really looking forward to that. So, and again, you know, females all over 40, which is gas. Um, yeah, I think we do need to develop a few of that age group that drops. There's a big gap between the early 20s and us. So, you know, shout out to anyone who wants to push themselves to just go for the trials, and yeah, keep pushing for it, because we need those up and comings. But yeah, like internationally, there's I'll probably butcher the names, but Martina, is it Valmalossi? I mean, she's absolutely brilliant. And what I love is that she has like she has a hoot, you know, she's there with her like heart-shaped sunglasses, always having fun, takes the mick out of herself, doesn't take herself too seriously, but my God, like, does she train hard, she works hard. But I just love her attitude. She just seems to be really honest, and good crack.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, like, of course we can all say, and rightly so, Courtney Dauwalter, unbelievable. But like we all know, she's the mecca of all meccas. And you know, she says, I just love to run, which she does. But no one, like, she doesn't, no one knows what her training looks like, you know. So I'd say it is insane. So, you know, there's a reason why she is the best at what she does. But yeah, I mean, there's so many. I love like Hilary Allen. I have huge respect for her. I've got to know her a bit, and I just like how many times she's come back from injury, like serious injury, nearly dying, falling off basically a cliffside a number of years ago. And she was an elite athlete then, and to come back fully and be an elite athlete again and have a number of setbacks since, and then make the US team to in the uphill. I mean, again, she's nearly my age, I think, and you know, you're competing with young elite athletes for an uphill race of what, 7K in the US, the worlds, and she made that team. I mean, absolute legend. So like, just I've yeah, a lot of time for any women who are kind of holding each other up, but you know, kind of overcoming adversity and just being bloody badass. Yeah.
Absolutely, being badass at it. Yeah, it's actually when you say about Courtney and her training. I used to binge on Courtney. Like I would go for my long runs and listen to podcasts with her and everything on her because I think she's just so cool about
Mhm.
everything. And I think it was with Rich Roll. She was speaking with Rich Roll, and she just said that she listens to her body. She wakes up in the morning and she goes and does whatever. Now, that's Shawnee. Sorry for a second because my laptop will die. It's okay, Shawnee. You can say hello to Nicola.
Oh, is it Nicola?
That's Nicola.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good, good. Just mixing cement, so I can't stay and have the crack with you.
Oh, listen, hard work to be done. Get back out there.
I'm telling you, while other people are just playing computer games. Huh?
That's it.
See you
That's
later.
it. Tough life. Bye.
Look at it also.
Yeah,
Fucking
please.
exploited.
Okay, okay. Just,
Hang on.
it's okay. Just, okay. Thank you
Alright.
very much.
Enjoy.
Lifesaver.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Um, so yeah, she just said that she said she doesn't have a coach and that
Yeah.
she just listens to her body. Every day she wakes up and she just does whatever her body tells her to do, which is
Mm.
amazing.
Yeah.
But which is also, I suppose, when and that's the difference between a sponsored athlete and an athlete who is managing a full-time job and
Mm.
some families as well, that you have the freedom of just waking up in the morning and being like, okay, today I'm going to go and run 30K because I feel like it. And then another day you wake up and you decide, actually, I'm going to go for a swim because you don't have to think about the logistics of everything that a normal everyday person has to think about.
Yeah, and I agree to an extent. I think life is very hard for those who are juggling jobs and trying to, you know, train. But I also don't think the world of, you know, sponsored elite athletes is all dreamy. I think the
Mhm.
pressure that they're under is huge. And is becoming more so with expectations from social media or from brands. Um, and I think that's why we see it with injury so often. I think Courtney's a different case. I mean, we all are like, all hail Courtney, you know. She can do whatever. She knows how to train her body, as you say. She gets up in the morning and decides, what am I going to do today? But you know, she's still going to win the majority of the races she does. So I think, Salman will leave her well alone. But for everyone else, I feel they often have huge pressure on their shoulders. The big brands, I won't name names, but we see so many athletes getting injured, in some brands more than others. And I often see young athletes joining these big brands, and I go, oh, please don't break them. And we see exactly that happening, and it's devastating. And it's often I don't say, it's often the females, because especially for young athletes, their bodies are going through so much. They probably still haven't got to grasp with their cycle. And then suddenly they're putting in these like insane hours, like probably like 40 plus hours a week plus, of training on developing bodies. And it's just really tricky, So I think there's, yes, like at times it'd be like, God, wouldn't it be great to be sponsored and to live the life of a professional athlete? But I think it comes with its own, warnings.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And we do see that, especially like when you say, especially women, unfortunately, the majority of coaches and the majority of training plans are still based on male bodies.
Hmm.
Whereas I think there should be more female coaches. There's more and more research coming out about females' physiology and how we are not small men. We do
Yep.
differ, and things should be done differently with women than with men.
Yeah.
And it is, especially for young women, like the amount of young athletes who don't have their periods
Hmm.
because of the pressures of training. They overtrain, undereat, and then, as you say, then it ends up with injuries, which is body's natural way of saying, no, we have to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, we're broken.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
often if it happens at a young age, unfortunately, it's like it's reoccurring then. It's more likely to happen again, which is devastating because I've seen lots of athletes who, they've had an issue when they're younger, they've then tried to be much healthier, and are training well, um, and then the same thing happens again, like stress factors, for example, and they get really frustrated because they're like, I've treated my body so well for the last like 5 years, 10 years, but how I treated it 10 years ago is still having an effect and is still kind of biting me in the arse, So, and that's really hard to see, but that is the reality. And that's why I say it's so important to care for our young and upcoming athletes that, they're keeping it fun. They're not doing too many hours with, on their bodies. And they're just like having sensible coaches, as you say, like just even understanding the concept that fasted training should not be done for women. Like it is
No,
so bad for us. We don't have the same body systems and body mechanics that men have, and it is completely wrong for any women to do it. And that is in the science, but it's not, I don't know, it's not shouted about enough. I yeah, and like I do a lot of reading up about it. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've read, Stacey Sims' book. Renee McGregor, absolutely world class. It's like
yeah.
listening to these women and understanding, um, our bodies and what's good for it and what's definitely not good for it. Fasted training definitely should be out. That's the one thing I can say to women. No fasted training, please. Eat lots.
Yeah. And I think that's like, I see it a lot with people who come to us for the retreats. I feed them. And like
Mm,
when I'm training, I eat like a fucking pig. And I
mhm,
always laugh about it. And when I speak to my athletes who I coach, I always tell them, listen, give me your like a week, write down what you eat every
mm,
day. I want to see what you eat. And then they send it back to me and I'm like, do you want to know what I eat in a week? because you're gonna have to eat a little bit more than that. And when people come here, and I usually, like, I have to be very gentle
Yeah.
because you can't be too forceful, but I
Yeah.
try to kind of say, okay, like, we're gonna eat pasta tonight because we're not afraid of carbs. And
Mm.
if we do go out in the morning, like, have a slice of toast with peanut butter and jam. Have something. Please don't go hungry, because and it is, many women will say, but I feel so good, I feel so energized, I feel good without food. It's like, yeah, but you're running on cortisol. you're
Mm.
it's it's not good for
No.
you. Yeah,
And it's
but
more that I often feel they're telling themselves that
mm,
to try and like make themselves, to say, "Oh, no, 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 like I feel good," but it's just this fear, isn't it? It's this fear that their bodies will change, that it won't be the way they think they should look, and it's just, it's often just societal pressures and what they see as the image, um, or that they've had this body before that they're trying to get back to, or whatever it is. I mean, I think the more you focus on it, the less real it becomes. Um, and actually, if you just become much more consistent in your running, and are healthy in your eating, and take on those carbs. I mean, I live on carbs. Me and you should share diets, and I'm sure you'd be like absolutely shocked at the amount. I live on carbs, and I think they're brilliant because they keep me fueled. And
yeah,
then I'm like, right, more carbs because carbs work. So I'm going to keep eating them, like pasta, bread, rice, like, I eat a lot of it. Protein, I'm like, it's the buzzword at the moment. I don't think I eat a lot of protein, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I do think it's a buzzword at the moment, and I still think carbs are king, so big up the carbs, protein, I know it's important too, but yeah, carbs for me win all day long.
yeah. And I think, like, we do get enough protein in our everyday lives. I think, like, if you are a bodybuilder, obviously you should look into your protein, probably. And now, I am not a specialist. I'm not trying to tell anybody. It's just what works for us, I suppose. And, like, I know from speaking to so many women who compete, and they all say, we just eat a lot of food, and yeah, and don't be afraid of pasta and bread, because
Mhm.
that's what fuels your runs. And
Yeah,
the
it's
difference that,
amazing.
like, I heard coming back from women, who I would suggest, okay, so maybe let's increase the
Mhm.
amount of carbohydrates in your diets only a little bit. We're not going to do a massive jump, just a little bit. And they'll come back to me after a week or two, and they'll be like, oh my God, it's like a ta-da moment, like, eureka, I have energy.
Total game changer. Yeah. I mean, I'm also a firm believer in, how do I feel? Do I feel strong? Okay. So if I feel strong, and even if like every winter my weight goes up, I don't use the weighing scales, but I can feel it, I can see it, it happens. And I almost go into a winter being like, I wonder if, I can, if that won't happen this winter. But it does, it happens every winter. And like, reality is, it's darker for so much longer. I'm not outdoors as much. There's not as much racing. So the training naturally reduces, I suppose. And instead of me worrying about it and cutting down on what I eat, I think to myself, am I still strong? And I'm still strong. I'm still running well. And that for me is the most important. I cannot accept anymore, for myself, like trying to control food or reducing food intake for a certain appearance. Like it's all about being strong. And so, consider, I've had quite a few races recently, and I'm like, for me, the main thing is not to get injured now. And how do I do that? I need to pull back on training. Like after these races, I need to eat lots of food, like I'm still really hungry, like 10 days on from this race, and I ate so much food during the race, but it just shows it's still like
Yeah.
my body is still recovering. And so it's just like making sure that I stay strong, stay healthy. Don't try and like, my Strava is like, honestly, it looks like an earthquake. It's like constantly up and down. And I'd say if anyone were to look at it, they'd be like, who is this one? And I'm like, that's that's what works for me. That's what I have to do because, you know, I know I can't keep pushing those big efforts and big training and expect my body to be able to keep up. Oh, has it gone down?
Yeah, for a second. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that is the message to be sent out there. You know, feel strong when,
Mm-hmm.
in your training. Feel strong, and don't be afraid of feeling that, and
Mm-hmm.
having your body really nurtured and
Yeah.
really ready for these events, or for whatever you have ahead of you. It's just, yeah, feeling strong. And there's nothing better than feeling like a badass, finishing a race and feeling that you have the energy, that you still have the energy, and you're not completely like
Mm-hmm.
a balloon that the air
Yeah.
was just completely,
Yeah.
gone out of. So,
And I just to add to that, like we're all women constantly the whole way through our lives are going through different cycles, whether that's from adolescence into kind of adulthood and dealing with all those hormonal and body changes. And then, of course, there's pregnancy and there's perimenopause and there's menopause. And so the body is constantly changing. And that can be really difficult for women. But I think the main thing is just, like we said, have that focus of, am I still feeling strong? I was away with a friend last week and she's like, is going through perimenopause. And it's just like, I've never been frustrated with how I look anymore, or before, but now she's like, she's feeling a bit frustrated with these like just appearances. I said, but do you feel strong? And she said, yeah, no, I do. And I said, well, look, let's, try and keep that as the focus. Your body is going through a change. It doesn't mean that will last, but like the main thing is if you feel strong, like that's awesome. Like your body's amazing. It's trying to go through these changes but still feel strong. Use that as a power.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, finally, to finish this, if there is a woman listening to us right now, that is maybe feeling a bit not sure about big change in her life, or just feeling a little bit, I don't know what to do with my life, or what would you tell her?
Go for it. Like what's your head like, what's your what's your heart saying to you? Like, have you I got a thing in my head, it was an idea, and I looked out the plane window and I just thought, oh, like it's so gorgeous out there. I'm not happy with my job. I just want to be out there like in the mountains. And that just like, it was brainwave, it stuck. And I thought, why not? And not everyone can just jump ship and do this. And I understand that. So it is about saying, like, if that thought is coming into your head that you want to make a change, it's what steps can you make towards that? Or can you try something? Like, can you, whether it's you want to go abroad and try, like, go for a hike, and you're not sure because, you got family commitments. It's like, do you know what? Maybe you can take the weekend. Maybe you can like use your support network to help, so that you can go and do that thing and just give yourself that space. I think it's so important for women to be a little bit selfish at times and say, do you know what? I'm going to put myself first and do that thing that I've really wanted to do. Like, we never know what's around the corner from us. And I think that's a big thing. And sometimes, you get a scare, or it's someone in your family and you think, God, they never got the opportunity to do that. Right now, I do have the opportunity. and why not take it? So take that opportunity, and like, you just don't know what's there unless you try.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what a way. Go for it and
Yeah,
see what happens. And then come back to us and tell us what happened.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for that conversation, Nicola. It was a
Oh, it's
massive
been
pleasure.
brilliant.
I feel like we could sit and talk for another set of time, if not more.
No, it's
Uh,
been so lovely. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll chat soon.
We will. All right. Chat
Bye.
soon. Thanks a mil. Bye bye.
And that's a wrap. You've been listening to Chasing Rabbits. I hope you enjoyed your time spent with me. And if you did, please share it with a friend. Spread the love as much as you can. We will see you soon. And in the meantime, keep chasing rabbits.